All right, everyone. Welcome. It is Friday, and you know what that means? It is time for manufacturing e-commerce success. Oh, I am excited to talk with our guest today because we are going to be learning how the NTMA is crushing it for their manufacturers. I'm one of your co-hosts, Damon Postolka. That pretty gentleman right over there is Kurt Anderson, and he's going to take it away from here. Kurt, let's do this.
Hey, thanks, brother. Hey, Damon, how's your week going? You doing okay? You surviving?
It's going great.
You're going great. Well, man, I hope dude, I hope you're ready for this one, man. It's like you're gonna want to run through a wall when we're done here. So, all right. Whew. Are you guys sitting down? Damon, are you sitting down?
Sitting down.
Okay. All right. Let's do this. So, hey, I'm going to give a big introduction to our dear friend, the one, the only Dan Ott. Dan, happy Friday. How are you, dude?
I'm doing great, guys. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, all right, we're here talking about the National Tooling and Machining Association, NTMA. We have tons to uncover. We might be talking about a little wedding that's going on later today, but we'll dive into that later. Dan, before we dive into your superpowers, all the amazing work that you guys are doing at NTMA, I have a little question for you.
Yeah, lay it on me.
As a little guy growing up in Northeast Ohio, you're through and through Ohio guy all the way, right? As a little guy growing up in Northeast Ohio, who was your hero? Who was your hero as a little guy growing up?
It depends on how little we want to go here.
How little you want to go?
So to date, and this is going to seem very sentimental and kind of mushy. My dad has always been my hero.
Nice.
He is a guy who, no matter what it was, he always made it to every single one of my practices, every single one of my games, which is something that I hope to be able to give to my son growing up. I don't plan on missing anything. But then if you want to go a little deeper, like every Ohio guy that grew up in Northeast Ohio in the mid 90s that was a football fan, Eddie George might as well be a god among men to me. I like that gleaming scarlet and gray, the silver helmets that I watched when I was like 10 or 11 years old, and the big shoulder pads, the hiked up jersey, the half shirts. It made me fall in love with the sport, quite honestly. And I credit him and guys like Orlando Pace and Terry Glenn. I really do credit them with my deep and abiding love for the game of football.
Well, I absolutely love that. What a great answer. So let's talk about Dad first. So what was Dad's name, please?
So my dad's name is Larry Ott, born and raised in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, as are quite a few of my family members. I think we did an ancestry.com search a couple of years ago, and we can track my family lineage in this city back over 100 years.
Oh, nice.
Wow. They ought to give me a plaque. Honestly, there should be a plaque dedicated to us, honestly, because we've built this community over the course of a century. So
right. All right. So, all right, we've got Larry Ott as a hero, caught all of your games, and just, what a great thing. Just give us a little bit more about Dad. What did Dad do? What was, let's hear a little bit more about Larry.
Yeah. So my dad actually worked for the city of Cuyahoga Falls. Is where I'm from, for over 30 years. He worked for the Parks Department. He, worked on all the baseball fields. He did a lot of the public parks. He worked on, we have a water park here that he was in charge of maintaining and make sure that all the kids were safe. So he was, the classic, dad that never grew up kind of a thing, my mom always makes the joke that he was one of her 3 kids. Me and my brother were always, the kids of the family, but my dad wasn't necessarily that far advanced as far as maturity goes. He was always the one encouraging us to put on, get on our skateboards on our bellies and then, take on down the hill and full on street luge. And, he was always the get dirty kind of, go out there and just cause trouble coming home from work. I swear to God, this would be something that's seared into my brain. When my dad came home from work, there was one word that came out of his mouth every single time he came home from work and saw my brother and I. He'd walk in the house and go, "Dudes," and we'd all come running. It was just like the 3 of us were like the 3 amigos.
That is awesome. What a great story, man. What a great tribute to your dad. Just, thank you for that. And then, so we're putting Larry on the pedestal, and then how about Damon? I can't let Eddie George go by. So
no.
For the record, 1995, November 1995, I was sitting I had great seats. I was watching this little team called Ohio State. They were playing Illinois, and my friend Eddie George rattled off. How many yards, Dan? Do you remember?
314.
314 yards. I was in the stands for that game, and that sealed the Heisman that year for Eddie George. So
I can probably, and I won't do it, I can probably recite for you one of the calls that Brent Musburger had when he broke it for, I think it was over 60 yards in the third quarter. Fun fact, Kurt, he didn't play at all in the fourth.
He didn't play at all in the fourth.
He rushed for 314 yards in 3 quarters of football.
Yeah, and they pulled. And I'll tell you, I was there that day, and just what a fierce leader, and great pro, just a great role model for the community.
Oh, yeah.
Just a wonderful dude through and through. And so, I absolutely love that. So, all right, so let's dive in here. So Dan is so Larry's your hero, big Buckeye fan, Eddie George, so on and so forth. Let's move forward. What'd you do post college? Like, I'm dying to hear you're such a fierce advocate for manufacturing. Why manufacturing? I know you've got a great story. Let's hear.
Well, that's an interesting one. And I think my story is more common than I think it was. But, I came out of high school and immediately, like, I played football in high school, and, my family had always kind of instilled this line in me and said, if you're good at something, try to use that to move yourself forward. If you're good at football, maybe try to see if that can put you into college, maybe see if that's the way that you can do that. And I, like a lot of other high school athletes, I decided to take my talents to Adrian College in Michigan and play football, and absolutely loved every single second of it. And both my parents, I was a first generation college student, and both my parents, working class people, did absolutely everything to try to offset the somewhat, thanks to grants and financial aid, a small tuition, but they tried to do as much as they could to offset whatever I was paying. And unfortunately, that ended up bumping them into an income bracket that, the government thinks, okay, you made more money, you don't need as much from us, kind of a thing. So my tuition went from around $4,300 to go to a private school and live on campus to around $17,000. And, being a Division III athlete, you kind of have to weigh, I'm not going to be going into the pros, quite honestly. Like, that's a pipe dream. I don't know too many Division III athletes that make it to the next level. And you kind of have to look at it pragmatically and think, is the next 3 years of extending my football career worth incurring an additional, I don't even want to do that math, $50,000+ in student debt.
Right.
So I did the economical thing. I moved home and went to the state school here and commuted. One thing I didn't recognize early enough was paid enough attention to mental health. And, I had never been presented with the abundance of time and freedom that when you step away from football and you have all this time, like, I don't have to be at study tables. I don't have to be at lifting. I don't have to be here. I don't have to be here. So you get used to that freedom, and it can become addicting. And then you don't end up going to class. You don't end up doing the things that you need to do to be successful. And ended up leaving the local university here, Kent State, and, kind of worked whatever jobs that I could get my hands on, whether that was delivering pizzas or working construction. It was just whatever fell into my lap. I had a family member reach out to me, and I was really struggling. And she happened to work for the local carbide tool manufacturer here, Kyocera SGS. Well, it was SGS at that point. Reached out to me and said that her coating company, they're one of their companies that puts titanium coatings on all their tools, needed someone to be a delivery driver and a sandblaster. So she gave me a call, and she was like, maybe this will be a good start. See what you like it, see what happens. And I viewed it as more of a stepping stone. I was like, I'll get this job, I'll take it, I'll see where it goes, and then I'll get myself back on track. 11 years later, it just became what I thought was going to be a stepping stone, ended up being a career path that I never really considered, but have really kind of gravitated towards. But yeah, that's how I got started. Met my wife in 2011. She worked for the local university here, and it's funny. she tells me all the time she should be credited for my degree, and I really do think that she should be credited with the start of it. Anyways, she looked at me, and at that point, I was guilty of telling people I was going to go back to school and I didn't have any plans to. I was just trying to get rid of the conversation. And she looked at me and she was like, "Look, I love you either way, but either stop telling people you're going back to school or do it. Either way, I'm with you no matter what."
She called your bluff, man.
Yeah.
Drop the hammer.
You can either stop telling people you're going back to school and stick to what you're doing, and I love you, or you can actually put your feet to the fire. You could jump in and let's do this together. And I was able to get my degree in 2017, thankfully at no cost to myself through tuition waivers because my wife works there.
Nice.
And then it ended up, went through job fairs and career fairs. And, honestly, I had put in, a good word. I went to my VP of marketing at SGS and said to him, look, I'd love to be considered if you ever create any more marketing positions. I would love to be on the top of your list if this ever became something that you were looking to fill. And he said to me, he was like, "We don't have anything right now, but I'll keep you at the top of the list. And I appreciate you coming to me." And it wasn't 6 months before that family member, shout out to my Aunt Terry, ended up calling me and saying that the person who was in that marketing coordinator role had left. And if you're interested, you need to get your application in now. I think I waited all of 13 seconds before I had logged on and put my resume in and send an email, did everything I needed to do. And that was in October of 2017. And then by Thanksgiving, it was literally Thanksgiving Day that I got the email from my VP saying that I'd got the job. And then just, I've been fortunate that my career that started as a delivery driver in the manufacturing sector has parlayed into, I got my degree, was able to seamlessly flow into the manufacturing area again, and then led me to NTMA. So
that's awesome.
Absolutely phenomenal. And kudos to your wife for calling what a great relationship. Tough love, being your accountability partner, and just rising tides lifts off ships, and she just kind of called your bluff. I couldn't love that more. That was phenomenal.
She knew I'd do the work, but it was just that I needed to have that foot in the butt to get out the door.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, we've got Elaine stopped by and said, "Hey, Dan, I resonate with the dad part as my hero. Dad is hero even today. My hero even today." And then Whitney Houston's here today. Whitney, happy Friday from Houston.
Happy Friday, guys. Man, all right, this is awesome. So you just joined us. Please, drop a note in the chat box. Let us know that you're out there. Do yourself a favor. Connect with Daniel Ott from NTMA on LinkedIn. As you can tell, just a man of integrity, great dad, wonderful husband, and just all sorts of wonderful things. And again, he might have a little wedding going on tonight. Well, you got to stick with us because we'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah. So, all right, Dan, let's bring this up to the point. So I believe 2023, you found your talents, your skills, your passion at the National Tooling and Machining Association. Walk us through that transition, and then we're going to take a deep dive into the NTMA.
Yeah. So, I had been with what is now Kyocera SGS or Kyocera SGS companies since I was 22 years old. So I was 2006 and had done just about everything that I needed to do. And I was very happy. I love the people there.
Yeah.
It was just, sometimes you just look for growth. And I honestly, I don't remember what led me to the search, but I just thought, there was something that I didn't feel was connecting I didn't feel like I was completing my journey at SGS. So I began the search, and very oddly, I'm just like a lot of people, I ended up looking on a lot of different job application sites like Indeed and LinkedIn and Career Builder. And I saw an article or an ad for the creative content manager position with the National Tooling and Machining Association. And I thought, this is odd. This shouldn't be this seamless. So, of course, I read into it, and, I put in my application and send in my resume. And I don't think it was more than 2 days before someone had reached out. And, I had a very positive phone interview. I had a great interview, and I don't know. And they'll probably tell you, I don't think either of us I didn't plan on, finding an additional marketing job within that same precision manufacturing field.
Yeah.
And I don't think they planned on finding a marketing individual or a marketing professional like myself who had experience in that specific field.
Yeah.
We represent some tool builders, some tool manufacturers. We have as members, and I can absolutely hold my own in a manufacturing conversation with them as well as in a marketing conversation with them.
Yeah.
So it's been an absolute seamless and wonderful transition to a great team at NTMA.
Well, that's phenomenal.
Cool.
Damon, what do you got?
I think that it's cool that you were able to do that. You have, the tooling side of it, and then move into the marketing for the people that are using the tooling and how they're doing that. It's that experience. You probably saw some of the soulmate customer to the NTMA, some of the challenges they were seeing in the field firsthand, delivering tooling, talking to them, doing the marketing for that, the tools themselves. So that it's a powerful combination moving forward.
It is. And I honestly, I keep hitting that. I never thought that my decision to become a delivery driver in the precision tool manufacturing field would transition to a going on 18-year career.
Yeah.
Inside this sector, but I'm absolutely so thankful and so blessed to be still working with these amazing people.
Awesome. And that's the thing that I love about manufacturing, right? Because I did most of my graduate work was paid for by my employer at the time when I did it. And there's so many programs, manufacturers. You can literally, like you said, you can start as a delivery driver, and it gives you the opportunity. Sometimes the companies pay some other things, but gives you these opportunities for growth within the companies. And you hear stories like yours where, I was doing this. I wasn't quite where I wanted to be. I knew that. I was able to, work a good job and do that. But then I decided it was time. You had a little help from your wife.
Yeah.
But then things just worked out in manufacturing. It's so cool.
So you hit on it, Damon. Growing up, I was given the path by my parents, and this was the path that they knew at the time. Right. There were two paths. There was one path to success. You went through high school, you got your 4-year degree in college, you got a job, and that was how you became successful. That isn't necessarily the case anymore. One, because tuition is just skyrocketed, and it's really a big financial decision as to what to do with your future and whether you want to mortgage that with how much student debt you'll take on. But I look at kids now who probably aren't meant to be in that traditional college experience. That's not the path that you need to move forward. And I think they look at manufacturing, and a lot of them have that same perception that I had. That's dirty, it's grimy. We see it all the time in like old movies where you have that steel mill, the guy's wearing the hard hat, the old Coke bottle glasses. Yeah. He comes home filthy. And I think that's the perception that manufacturing is this dirty, grimy, micro dirty jobs type of a profession. And it's no longer that way anymore. Yeah. But a kid, and I tell this, so we have an education and portion of what we do at NTMA. I tell kids all the time, in my coaching and in my passing, I tell them, if the college experience, if you look at college and you don't think that this is the right path moving forward, take a look at manufacturing. Take a look at some of the companies that are in that sector. One, you get a job right out of high school and you're earning a living wage.
Yeah.
Right now, you're earning a living wage right now. And a lot of these companies will offer tuition reimbursement or tuition waivers, or they'll give you some sort of a journeyman program. They'll give you some sort of a way to become proficient at what you do. Or like at my old company, we give, as long as you would, I think it was like, as long as you would sign a certain, sign on to be a certain amount of years to be with them, they would pay for your undergraduate work.
Right.
Yeah.
So not only are you earning a living wage, but I'm getting my college paid for.
Yes.
And when I get my degree, one, I've earned all this money to date. And two, I don't have a single cent of student debt.
Yes.
I'm not, it's a path forward that I really do think needs to be not forced on them, but it needs to be introduced to a lot of these kids who don't think that there are other ways to become successful other than that 4-year path.
100%. 100%, because it is, and it, you talk about the 4-year degree, and I see this in other areas too, like for machining. A lot of places now, if you want to come in as an entry level, just starting sweeping the floor kind of person, they will send you to the trade school after you've proven yourself, that get the training as a machinist, and then you come back and you can get even better at doing it. And I've seen it in welding, I've seen it in a lot of these trade positions where we're talking these people can make $100,000 a year,
absolutely,
in not too long, with this progress. And these are kids, as you said. My son's 25. He's got friends right now still searching what they're going to do. And it's because they thought that the path was you go to college, you do this, and they got down to the college role and it just wasn't right for them. Mm-hmm. And there are so many places in manufacturing you can win over the long haul and have a great time doing it.
And I am extremely thankful, one, for the path that I got to move forward. But one of the things that I look for inspiration. So I don't know that any one person or people inspired me to get into manufacturing, but I can tell you unequivocally that over the course of my 18-year career, I have met countless amounts of people that have kept me in this profession and have made me the passionate guy that you see before you. Because honestly, manufacturing, the one thing that I think is universal in every manufacturer, what they produce great people. That is the biggest thing that they produce, is the people that they have there.
Yeah.
Drop the mic right there, man. Manufacturers they produce great people.
They do.
That might be one of the best lines on our show ever.
Yeah,
that might be one of the best comments of all time. That was, Dan, that was fantastic. And just, you talk about inspiration. So, yes. You know what? So I have a dear friend. She lives, like 2 doors down. She was she's my age ish, she looks 20 years younger. She was the first plant manager of Cummins Engine. So think Cummins, huge plant. So it was a huge plant near where I live. And she was the first female plant manager in the Cummins history. So a few weekends ago, they had a 50th anniversary. And so, my wife ran into our neighbor. She's like, hey, you should, we're doing this big. So my wife and I go up, and they're giving tours of Cummins Engine.
Wow.
Tour. So my wife and I go in, they had golf carts. So you're taking a golf cart tour around the plant, and I'm chit-chatting with the 2 guys driving the golf cart. Exactly what you're describing, Dan. They came in and they were just gushing. They came in on the floor is where they started, and Cummins rose them where now this guy had this position. This guy had this position. It was one guy was an IT guy. The other guy was in another tech field. And he was like, we could have never done this without manufacturing and without Cummins. They have lifted us to whole new levels. And it was just, with what you're saying is just so spot on, man.
It is. So, and I'm going to give another shout out to the guys at Major Tool in Indianapolis. So every year we have an Engage conference that we go to, and it's different city each year. Mm-hmm. And we take a shop tour in whatever city we happen to be in. And we got to tour this amazing facility, this amazing company called Major Tool. The one reason I mentioned this, and I've mentioned this to the guys that work there that ended up being at our conference, the one thing that I took away, other than the fact that it was absolutely massive, that the second you walk in the door, I understood exactly who they were as a company. Because the second you walk in the door, literally on the wall there is a picture of every single person that works there and the years that they've had there. And they've had guys that are there like within their first year all the way to 50 years.
Yeah.
So I told them, I'm like, the one thing, like, you guys can produce anything you want to produce and still be successful. But what makes you successful in my eyes is that the one thing you produce is right there on the wall. Is those great people that are on the wall that are willing to not only they've dedicated majority of their lives
to
what you guys are selling right there. Like, so I know exactly who you are the second I walk in the door. And that's what's awesome about manufacturing and some great people.
Oh my God. All right. So good. So, all right, let's keep the party rolling. You mentioned Engage. We're talking about NTMA. If you're just joining us here, Damon, I've lost track of time. Like we're
we've got some comments here. I'm going to run through it. We got Sunil saying, "Hey, good evening, sir." He's got a good, and Elaine said, "Starting small and through love." There you go. Tarun said, "Hello," and Tahorul, sorry, I'm probably butchering that, but he said, "Great event. Thank you so much for the comments." All right, let's keep it rolling, Kurt.
Let's keep it rolling. Drop us a note. Let us know where you're coming from. And again, connect with Dan on LinkedIn. Go to NTMA. So now, Dan, let's go here. Who is NTMA? How do you guys make the world a better place? We've had your fearless leader has been on the show, our friend, our comrade, Roger Atkins has been here. Big shout out to Roger, your entire team. Just share a little bit about who and what is, you're talking about people, what is going on at NTMA?
Yeah, so we are a manufacturing trade association. Our national office is based right here in Cleveland, Ohio. We represent, I think it's over 1,000 small to medium-sized manufacturers nationwide, and try to provide them with networking opportunities, different programs to kind of help help them stay afloat, help them, with any sort of processes that they might be struggling with, any sort of connections that they need to have made within the manufacturing space. And really we're out there representing the people that I'm talking about just now. It's these amazing people nationwide who, without knowing it, kind of make your life either easier or make your life go, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you guys have been around since 1943. And so just give a little bit, how you guys are making the world a better place. And on top of that, the longevity, the success, why is your trade association just been so phenomenal for your members?
Well, we've been around for 81 years. We have the ability to go and really appeal to these small to medium-sized manufacturers and kind of give them connections, make sure that they feel like they're a part of a community. We have events that we have, and you have networking opportunities. We have an NTMAU, which is a university that kind of helps further the education of a lot of these manufacturing students. We have advocacy programs. We have an arm that kind of puts manufacturing at the forefront of political discussions and trying to see what, where the pulse is and where the things are going. Like last week's, R&D tax credit vote, that was something that we were really pushing our members to get a hold of their senators and put forth, the effort to try to see that manufacturing is successful going into the future. We're one of many trade associations, but we're one that really has the manufacturing, the heart of manufacturers, in mind, and we try to do our best to make sure that we're not only successful, but that the industry stays strong and stays afloat and moving forward. We're still as big and as prominent as we were back in the 1920s.
Yeah, I love it. If you don't mind, Daniel, I'm going to grab your website real quick and just let's throw that up on stage here just so people can take a peek. So, hey, I recognize that guy. How about this guy right here? You guys are working, and again, you're talking about the university, talking about workforce, advocacy, all sorts of wonderful things. So again, here's the NTMA website, National Tooling and Machining Association, been around since 1943. You can go to their website, check out all their things going on. Let's go here. If you don't mind, I want to pull up and let's see, where was it? Right here. How about NTMAU? You mentioned this real quickly. Talk about how you guys are helping folks to fill that gap.
So we view, like efficiency is a big deal. So I'm a big proponent in hiring the right people, not just hiring a body. NTMAU is the arm that we use to further the education and further that right person. So that when a manufacturer hires someone that comes in and say is a tool manufacturer for say, and is running a Walters machine, instead of running one machine, he can run 5 machines. Or instead of, he can run, CNC on a Haas machine. He can run, there's a lot of different things that NTMAU offers to further the education of a manufacturing and specifically a CNC manufacturing professional. So they come in and they're able to take advantage of some courses, some not tuition, but some textbooks, and really just kind of educate them and help further their career in manufacturing.
Yeah, I love it. And so, Dan, let's go here. So let's dive into like your role specifically. You're just a brand advocate, kind of being the big football guy that you are. You're a bit of the cheerleader, not only for the NTMA, but also for manufacturing as a whole, the tooling and machining industry as a whole. Just share a little bit on like your role and like why you love what you do on a daily basis, how you're helping getting the word out.
Well, so a big kind of theme that we have during this year, it's called telling your story. So my job as a marketer, when it comes to the NTMA, because we have 1,000 small to medium-sized manufacturers nationwide, a lot of them don't have a marketing arm. A lot of them don't have, or they don't put a whole lot of focus on marketing. And one of my goals is to help these small to medium-sized manufacturers tell their story. You give me a mic, I'll talk your ear off. You ask me where I come from and everything like that, I'm going to give you, I won't even go cliff notes. I'll go full deep dive.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed is that that's universal amongst a lot of people, and they're just waiting for the time and the vehicle to tell their story. So as a marketer, when it comes to these people, is just allowing them to tell you who they are and being able to kind of give them the best path forward. We talk all the time about just being able to get their voice heard and get, their message out in front of the right people. And that's my job as a marketer is to, like when I talked about selling people, when I talk about the people that are the products of these manufacturing companies. So that's what I'm trying to push nationwide, is that these people are what drive everything that you see in life. Everything that from your cars to the food that we eat every morning, all the way to the roller coasters that you ride on when we go to a theme park. Everything is driven by manufacturing. Everything is driven, and just giving them the time to tell their story is what I try, is at its base what I try to do every day.
Well, I'll tell you, what an admirable cause right there. Just getting everybody's story out there. Absolutely love it. And I don't mean to put you on a spot, Dan. Does any particular stories jump out to you that have folks that have shared with you, just super inspiring, that you would love to retell here with everybody?
So not any one particular. Like I mentioned, there was a story, like I told you, about Major Tool and them putting their people on a pedestal. But so now, I'm not trying to plug the event that we have going on in October, but we have coming with us to the event is a Hall of Fame singer-songwriter who wrote the dance for Garth Brooks. His name is Tony Arata. We've had him touring some chapters of NTMA throughout the year, kind of instilling this storytelling ability to all of these chapters and all the members of these chapters. They all have an amazing story to tell, and we all want to hear them. It's just that they need the voice to tell them. They need the vehicle to go out there and tell it. So I don't know if there's any one particular manufacturer that I've seen or heard that has a great story. They all have great stories to tell.
Yeah,
they really do. So like last year was my first time at Engage, our fall conference, and I got to speak with some amazing people like Jeff Anderson at Accutech Precision Aerospace. And, Ashley Hunsicker at HTC Coatings, wrote a couple down, Dan Engelmeyer at, Hipsman's Crew, Christina Collette at Riata Engineering. So there's these amazing people that you didn't know existed, and that you've got to pick their brains and just kind of learn who they are as people and as business owners. And it's really amazing to take all that in.
Yeah, and you guys do a great job promoting your events because I see,
Yeah.
you know, my buddy at Ripley Machine, Andrew, you know, he's
Yeah.
constantly posting, you know, chapter events, and you know, so around the country, as you mentioned, you guys have different, you know, regional chapters that for that small manufacturer, that 5-10 person, you know, they feel alone, they're like fighting relentlessly, trying to get their business off the ground, keep staying viable, and it's just great how you guys bring that community together. You can bring that the brand advocate, tell their story, get their message to Congress, you know, like all these roles that you guys play that just, you know, as a on our own, you just can't do it. Damon, you always use that line, that one kind of, you know, one to many. Well, when you join a trade association, now you've got some muscle behind you, you know?
Yes. Yes. And you get the resources, like you said, connecting people to resources, because we work in our businesses all day long. And if I'm sitting there in a machining company, running my machining company, and I need help with something that's outside of machining, could be business related, could be legal related, could be HR related, something like that. Having the association behind you, they go, oh yeah, these are the people that we've seen help our other members, and they've become highly recommended, kind of thing. Or, you know, there's so much value in that when you can put that together and help your members like that.
And it's, you know, I'll take it one step further. You know, when you become a member of NTMA, you got muscle. You really do, like you said. But a step that needs to be taken by more members of ours, it's get involved, get engaged. They're our most successful members are the ones that we see all the time, that really do put their best foot forward and really do, you know, it's very easy in manufacturing, especially, to kind of look at things as time spent off the floor as time lost.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that may be true in certain instances, but the more that you become invested in the opportunities and the programs that we can provide, the more successful you're going to be. I promise you. And some of the people that I've mentioned just in the last couple of seconds are the ones that take advantage of it. Are the ones that I don't have to worry about seeing at conferences. The ones that I don't have to worry about not seeing on cohorts that we have, or not wanting to, you know, get involved with some of the affinity programs that we have to offer. Let's say it's like going to college. Like when I went back to college, I was successful because I got involved. You know, I wasn't successful the first time because I didn't get involved. I didn't manage my time well. I didn't put my effort into, you know, getting involved with this or getting involved with that. I was when I went back to school my second time, I'm sure I was the annoying guy that was ruining the curve. I'm sure I was the annoying older guy who was like the, you better sit down in class. I'm like the watchdog for the professor. But I was successful because I got involved. I got engaged.
Yeah.
And the more you become not only just a member of NTMA, but the more you become an engaged member of NTMA, the more successful you're going to be.
You know, I couldn't agree with you more, Dan. And the thing is, you know, so Damon, we talk so often about how important it is to work on your business, not just in your business. And that can be anything, you know, it doesn't make manufacturing exception, you know, is not the exception, you know, but when you have a machine shop, if somebody calls in sick, you know, the owner might be out on the floor, or maybe they're shipping, or maybe, you know, they're running around doing HR, you know, if you have a small shop, man, you're doing a little bit of everything. And I think what NTMA does for these small manufacturers, they can take a minute and step back and like be in a room, whether a virtual room, an email room, a physical room, and just collaborate and just like, oh yeah, I have that problem. Or how about this? What if you had that problem 5 years ago, solved it, and now you could share it with somebody else? What if you could be not just the receiver, but the giver, like you're saying, Dan, like be the person that just, you know, because it works both ways, right? And lots of opportunities to take advantage of with your organization.
There really are, and not to cut you off, Kurt, but like, so that was one thing this was probably the most beneficial hour that I've had in my entire year and a half of being with NTMA. Last year, when I was at my first Engage conference, one of the things that we offer our members is member-led roundtables. So we, you know, this could be from any topic, you know, from workforce to leadership to advocacy. So I sat in with the sales and marketing roundtable, and this was a group comprised of maybe 20 to 25 people. And you had the room cut in half. You had, and I'm not trying to call anybody old, but you had the room split down the middle. You had the young section over here, and you had the old section over here. And I say that because there are two ways. It was very much split down the middle. You had one side of the room that does things very old school,
Yeah.
You know, the prospecting, the cold calling. They want to go door to door. They want to be in your face. They have the Rolodex full of contacts. It was like the very old school way of doing things. And then you have the new school way of doing things that wants to employ technology. You know, because my generation, I like to make it, you know, like I'm at the early end of the millennial generation. So I was the first generation raised with technology.
Right.
Yep.
So it's not crazy intimidating to me to look at Chat GPT or Zoom or Teams or any one of these, you know, different technology things that I can utilize as a sales tool. But can be intimidating to the older generation who wasn't raised with this. You know, they became successful relationship builders with different vehicles than I did. But like I said, I was getting back to this. The room was split down the middle, and it was very much like cantankerous at first because, you know, you have both sides of the room that thought they're right. You know, this is the way it's done. No, this is the way it's done. Everybody in the room was able to stop, and we were able to go around the room. One of the themes that we took away from it is if you can be humble and listen for 2 seconds to the wisdom that this generation has to pass down to you, because they've been in it for a long time. And the goal is still the same. It's to build relationships, build trust, to build a customer base.
Mm-hmm.
If you can slow down and listen to how they did that and put those and that message into the tools that we have at our disposal, you know, us young generation, we can become as successful as you guys were. And for this older generation, if you can sit down and listen for 2 seconds and let me teach you how to use this, or even help you use this.
Right.
I've been down that road. You know, when I was with SGS, we had a sales force that I often had to help quite a bit. But guys like, I'm giving a shout out here to Cliff Kerrigan and Joe Sarkis, who are the master relationship builders. They are, if there is a pair of photos in the dictionary amongst like relationship guys, those guys are there. If I can teach those guys how to use some of the technology that I have at my disposal, they're bringing in an entire.
Yeah.
Oh,
He froze for a second, but it's good stuff. Good stuff. Let's wait. He'll come back.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is really, this is interesting because it is the older generation and the younger generation. But what he's saying is true because there's the good that both can learn from each other. And as they move forward, they can be better together.
Yeah. You know, I had the privilege of, I'll just share this real quick and hopefully Dan will pop right back.
Yeah.
I started a social media intern program years ago at a community college specifically for manufacturers. And I teed up with a young woman. She was a professor, you know, like 20 something. And, you know, here's the older guy. And so, so hey, I'll share, I got a funny story, Damon. So she was what was she? She was like second runner up for, you know, like here he is.
I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it does that once in a while. So Kurt was telling the story.
Yeah. So all right. So anyway, so Dan, what I love what you're sharing is we were just trying to fill in a little bit while you're gone, and we'll start winding down.
We were just talking about the value though that kind of conversation brings between the older and the younger people, because as an older person, you don't know the technology. And the other thing that Kurt and I talk about a lot is, as an older person in generation, you're removed from today's buyer. I mean, let's face it. Not many people like that are Kurt or my age are still buying the kind of things that machining companies make. I mean, it's buyers at organizations that are doing that. Those people are more your age. And if we listen to both sides and use the tools to build those relationships and learn those tools, everybody's better in the end.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, because Damon, it gets a little tough when you and I walk around with our phone books, you know, we're trying to get those
I got the old, and I'll bring them up here. I've got the old Thomas guide.
Yeah. I got the Thomas guide phone book. The Dan. So Dan, did you freeze again?
Yes, he did. Oh, there he's coming back. He's coming back.
All right.
There he is.
Dan, I'm here. I swear I'm not doing anything.
Okay. So
good stuff.
Well, anyway, all right, we'll start winding down. So I'll just finish it real quick. So Damon, I was running a social media intern program for manufacturers, and what was the beauty of it was so amazing. You had baby boomers and Gen X business owners working with these freshmen and sophomore. At the end of the semester, we do this big celebration, and we'd bring in the manufacturers in the room. The president of the college was there. It was just this wonderful celebration. And I can't tell you how many owners would stand up, to your point, Dan, in humility and say, I can't believe how much I'm learning from this 18-year-old on how to do these things. But the 18-year-old had the opportunity of just, being mentored and, this wisdom from, the owner. So I love what you're saying on that room, what you're describing. That just is so spot on. Dan, what else you got?
It is invaluable that we take a step back sometimes and we just listen. I think so often we're so programmed to be opinionated and just throw out, I learned how to do this and I learned to do, it's going to be easy. Here, let me show you how to do it. Just take a step back, stop what you're doing, and just listen for a second and just admit that you don't have all the answers. That's how I swear to you, that's how I'm where I am in my career. It's just that I was able to pick the brains of the people that knew more than I did.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing how smart we were in our 20s, but then as you get older, all of a sudden you're like, you just, you just, when you're on a quest for curiosity and to learn, it's so Dan, let's start winding down. I know you've got big plans tonight. So a couple last things I want to ask. So let's go here. Dan, super excited for the future. You've got a big Engage program coming up. Do you want to just share a little bit on where, what's happening with Engage? What's going on there?
Yeah, so Engage is happening in Nashville, Tennessee, October 16th through the 19th.
Nice.
We are going to be hosting what we hope is a good amount of manufacturing professionals nationwide. And we have, I think, 6 speakers coming in to do a bevy of different general sessions. That's, from everything from workforce development all the way to we are actually recording a live podcast the last day we're there. So we have 4 big manufacturing influencers, Tony Gunn, Andrew Crow, Megan Zimba, and Paul Van Meter, who are all giants in the manufacturing space and are giant advocates for the manufacturing space. So the Gun Show podcast specifically will be recording live the last day we're at Engage. So that's going to be something that's going to be amazing. Another thing that we're going to have, and this is very topical right now, is that we're going to have 2 political lobbyists. They're going to be there to kind of give our members and whoever decides to attend a bit of a snapshot of where the pulse is a month away from the election, kind of give you what they think is going to be happening, kind of the repercussions of whatever comes down the pipe. So these are just things that I think that are things that you're not going to want to miss. I don't know if we're going to have these guys back next year. I don't know where I'm going to be next year. Nobody does. Yeah. So take advantage of this now. I know I'm plugging this event. It really is invaluable. I really do think that the networking opportunities and some of the things that we can offer our members conversational wise are things that you're not going to want to miss.
Yep.
So it is a great event. Like I said, October 16th through the 19th. If you go to our events page, we have a registration link if you want to take a look at some information. For those people listening in who are on the fence about joining NTMA, do us a favor, put a toe in the water.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you go to, Kurt, if you were to go to manufacturingengage.org is the actual site address. But yeah, Engage 2024 is in Nashville. If you're on the fence about joining NTMA, come to the event.
Yep.
See what we're about. Talk to some people. From myself all the way up to the top, Roger Atkins. We're all happy to talk to anybody who comes, and just listen to what we got to say. If you feel it's for you, we can help. We can put that muscle behind your company there.
Wow, I love it. And Dan, I'm sorry. Did you want me to click anything else? Did you want me to show?
No, I mean, so like you've let it right there, Kurt. Like so,
Engage 2024. And just
2024.
So much meat on the bone, and again, we have no skin in the game. Just, we're just huge advocates of what you guys do. Just love the passion, love what you and Roger are doing, your entire team. We know your members. We are dear friends with Megan and Paul and Tony, so that is just wonderful that you're having these great speakers or doing a podcast, great speakers. You're having lobbyists literally, 3 weeks, hardly, right? 3 weeks before this huge election. So there's just so much value that it's just impossible for a small entrepreneur.
I don't know when that opportunity. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. All right. Awesome. Dan, let's wind down. So I know you've got a big event tonight. Before I let you go, I'd love one last question for you. Best business advice that you have ever received or that you would love to pass along to our listeners today. What is the best business advice? Did we lose him? Man, Damon, what's
right there?
But Damon, what's the best? Man, we're like on the edge of he was about to drop it and then we lost him. I should have wrapped up.
Yep.
What's the best business advice, Damon Postolka, that you've ever received?
Oh, think twice before you invest in capital equipment. In business, not in manufacturing. That's the big one because everybody loves new equipment, right?
Right.
And to the bane of every manufacturing company, if you're an equipment junkie, you can get it funded. They'll drop it on your floor. You get this big $1 million piece of equipment, and then you go, oh, I guess we're going to have to run a lot of product through this to make money. And I still remember my first mentor, Don Bender, because I was fresh out of college and I was like, whoa, we should get this machine. We should get that machine. And he said, we really need to think about that because you got to think about how much we have to produce to pay for that equipment.
Yeah.
That was just the best advice I ever had.
Kind of the measure twice, cut once. Is that along those lines?
The way it goes. All
right. So I don't know if Dan's going to be able to join us back here. So
we're going to have to wind up.
Wonderful session today. So we'll wind down. So Damon, thank you for joining us today. Again, guys, check out the National Tooling and Machining Association. Wonderful friends there. Connect with Dan on LinkedIn. And I was hoping if I stalled for a minute, maybe he'd come back to us. Damon, any parting thoughts for the weekend? What do you got?
No, I'm just telling you that, the NTMA, actually some of the companies I ran in the past were members. They're not kidding. They've got good resources. They can really help you as a small to medium-sized machine shop. He was talking about all those people. Paul lives only like 60 miles away from me up here in the Northwest. And, those other people they have at the seminar, it's going to be just great speakers. They got a wonderful show going to go on and a lot of things happening, but the NTMA really does help their members.
I totally agree. So great, wonderful, inspiring conversation today. So we will close things out. We appreciate everybody joining us today in the chat box. We appreciate everybody here today. Go back and rewind, listen to Dan. He is just so passionate for manufacturing. Yep. Damon, why don't you close us out? Take us away, man.
All right. That was great. Today we were talking with Dan Ott at the National Tooling and Machining Association and learning how the NTMA is crushing it for their manufacturers. Wow. I want to thank all the people that dropped the comments in there. Tarun, Sunil, Whitney Elaine for being here today. Tahorul. It's just so many people. Thank you so much. And those people that didn't drop the comments, we love it that you're out there listening too. If you know somebody that would benefit from watching our show, listening to our show, follow our podcast, put them in touch with us, show them where this show is at. We would appreciate it. Have a great weekend, everybody. And Dan came back.
I swear, that was panic inducing.
Well,
we're just
wrapping up, Dan.
Perfect timing, Dan. We're closing things out. I had asked you best business advice that you've ever received. Anything that you'd like to share?
Best piece of business advice. So going along with the telling your story, I have a dear friend who was my former sales manager at SGS named Cliff Kerrigan. His best pearl of wisdom that he ever left me with was ask the question, tell me more about that. Anybody, business, doesn't matter what the conversation is about. Tell me more about that. And it leads to a greater conversation. It leads to a bigger conversation. The other pearl of wisdom that I've instilled in myself is be patient. Don't jump to, if you get a new task, somebody gives it to you, it's okay to freak out, don't act reactionary. You don't be a reactionary person, and be patient, and go just do what you do.
Do what you do. All right. Great words of wisdom, my friend. So, all right. Hey, we wish you amazing, wonderful luck tonight. You have a little, you want to just share what you're doing this evening?
Yeah. So my little brother, Joe, is getting married. And I have a very important best man speech to give, later on tonight. So it should be a great time. A shout out to my brother, Joe, and his, new wife, Julie. I can't wait to see, what the future holds for you guys.
Well, nice. God, hey, we wish you, your brother, your sister-in-law, just tons of just wild success. And Dan, good success to you with your speech. We can't wait to see the recording of it. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you. We thank you for your support, everything that you guys are doing for manufacturers at NTMA. Incredibly inspiring. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today to share your word. And Damon, why don't you close us out, my friend?
I'm going to close out for good this time. Thanks everyone for being here. I mentioned the people that dropped the comments. Thank you. If you got into this late, get back to the beginning and listen to Dan from the beginning and the awesome stuff that the NTMA is doing for their manufacturers. We will be back again next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks for having me, guys.